A land with mountains, rocks, forests, rivers, and waterfalls. It is one of the most beautiful places in southern Brazil. This range of mountains is covered in Atlantic forest. Serra Geral shelters a rich refuge of natural life. Along this territory, important units of conservation form ecological hallways that are fundamental to the preservation of the biodiversity of the Atlantic forest. To preserve the natural beauty of this region, in 1983, these mountains and forests became part of one of the biggest conservation units of Santa Catarina State, the Biological Reserve of Aguaí. It is administered by the Environmental Foundation FATMA, a unit of conservation installed in 4 towns, Siderópolis, Nova Veneza, Treviso, and Morro Grande, occupying nearly 20,000 acres of wild nature. Here, a diverse collection of animals adds color to the primitive landscape. Within this fascinating nature are the altitude fields, which dominate the higher parts of the reserve. In this environment, the crab-eating fox watches its territory, observing all that occurs around it. Bordering these mountains is the nebular forest, generally found above 10,000 feet. In this protected area, we encounter a different ecosystem than we find in the rest of tropical Brazil. During the winter, the intense cold reigns in the highlands with temperatures below zero, providing enchanted phenomena like snow, frozen rivers, and morning frost. This is no surprise, even in Brazil. Environments vary from one place to another due to different combination of its elements. The less elevated portions are predominantly occupied by a dense tropical rainforest, where the vegetation is ornamented by samambaias, bromeliads, orchids, vines, and palm trees. In this extract of the forest, a curious mammal, the cachero porcupine, gets a lot of attention because of its body, covered in sharp spines. This curious adaptation protects it against its predators. In the beginning of spring, the first rain is an indicator to the birds that winter is over. For birds, spring is a command that tells them it's time to reproduce. The nests spread around trees, camouflaged between branches, guaranteeing survival for the hatchlings. The critters here are not easily spotted. Hidden in the green, the howler monkey circles around the forest, well known for its capacity to be heard from great distances. The male howler monkey uses his cry to make other groups aware of his territory. Here also lives other species native to Brazil that are unfortunately threatened by extinction. Knowing which species of wild felines living in the reserve and preserving them is one of the objectives of the researchers of the felines of Aguaí. They have been promoting the conservation of the environment through scientific research, environmental education, and involvement in local communities. These felines are among the most beautiful wild fauna and are also one of the most difficult to observe. The wildcat, gato de mato, is the smallest wildcat in South America. This lonely species has diurnal and nocturnal habits and feeds on small prey, including birds, reptiles, and rodents. In search of its abilities, The small wildcat counts on its senses of sight and sound to locate its prey. Extremely agile, this wild feline, when young, has a habit of climbing trees to exercise some of the skills it will require for adult life. Where nature acts, life never stops renewing. During summer, this scenario reveals itself especially rich, with one phenomenon that marks all regions of the Atlantic forest: a great amount of rainfall. The rain is the irrigation system of the entire forest. Trees are responsible for making this possible. Each one of them drains hundreds of liters of water, but only uses part of it. The rest goes back into the atmosphere in the form of vapor through minuscule pores on its leaves. The forest performs an important role vital to the local climatic regulation and the conservation of an infinite amount of plants, animals, and water resources. Inside the reservation, the forest protects the sources of important rivers, like the Ceja River and Minas River, which fill the São Bento Dam. The preservation of these sources is fundamental to the water supply of several towns in the southern state region. Here, the fabulous biodiversity is also surrounded by great cultural diversity. The Xoclang Indians were the first people to inhabit this region. They populated these rich mountains and rivers in harmony with nature until the beginning of European colonization, when they were slowly decimated. Nowadays, the cultural values related to the area present two distinct complexes, one related to the mountain high flatlands and the other to the lower part of the area, the coastal flatlands. In the highlands, we have the field culture, which contains the field man, the farms, the houses, the grassy hills, and the retaining walls. This landscape sets a deep contrast with the lower part. In the lower part, the culture is marked by the European immigrants. In this region, the Italian culture outstands by presenting more cultural expression. Traces of this culture can be found in the centennial architecture of the stone houses. To the communities surrounding the mountain range, the sustainable tourism is an important economical activity. It has been growing more and more in the region with the valorization of its natural beauty, culture, gastronomy, music, and hospitable people. Preserving this territory means to protect the ecosystem of the Atlantic forest and the way of living of the people that inhabit these lands. According to specialists, today in Brazil, there is less than 8% of the original Atlantic forest left. The creation of this reserve was fundamental to the region, because only this way will it be possible to conserve the rare piece of Atlantic forest, one of the richest and most threatened ecosystems on the entire planet.